And I am live. I didn't have time to make didn't have time to make an opening. So, what's up, everybody? It is 10 p.m. Central Time right now, and I was out all day. And this was not something I planned to do. I didn't even know that they were showing Rings of Power. This was a decision I made at a whim. So I spent all day at the dealership because state of Illinois makes us undergo emissions tests in order to, update our license plates and everything. So I was out all day. I was working on, still working on part 3 of my ocarina video. And then I was on my way to the emissions place, and I'm listening to a few people on YouTube. I'm sure you can guess who they are. One's last name rhymes with Oddick. So he was talking about how like there's free tickets to go see the Rings of Power. So I went to see if there was any in Chicagoland, and there was only one theater, and this was way in the northwest suburbs. So I looked to see if there was a ticket. I got the last one, so I got seated in a handicap part, but all the handicapped seats were all the handicap seats were all taken by kids mainly. So, but yeah, I was sitting next to a 19-year-old, and she was, nerdy girl. And I started a conversation, and I was like, what do you think of, have you paid attention to anything? She's like, no, I've kept my, we haven't paid any attention to anything. So they showed they did show episode 1, episode 2. So I'll say right off the bat, I liked the music. The music was pretty good. The music was better than I expected it to be. I mean, it was Bear McCreary, but there was like definitely Howard Shore worked on the main theme. So there was there was that. And what's funny was I got to the theater before, like 2 hours before the premiere. So the premiere was at 7 p.m. Central. I got there at 5 p.m. So first thing I did was take out my Kindle, open Lord of the Rings up, and look at the appendices for the Second Age, which is only like 4 pages long. So they're making 40 episodes of a show based on what? Based on 4 pages of notes. So there's like a timeline, and then there's just like what ultimately happens in the first, second, third, and fourth ages. So I'm just like, what the heck? So, so yeah, this is pretty funny. So let's see who's here. We got Luz here. I was thinking it come out tomorrow. It does come out tomorrow. Comes out tomorrow at 8 p.m. Central. Salty, what's up, Salty? What's up, Dan? Lyle saw it too. Man of Manethra, Nathan, what's up? And Maxar, being a child is crippling, yes? I don't know what that means. So, yeah, they mentioned Feanor. I didn't even know who Feanor was until I saw it. Apparently, Feanor was an old elf that had this I don't know if it was a mace or something. I forget what it was. It was something that Mr. Not Gilgalad, what's his name? Celebrimbor had in his studio. So Celebrimbor has a studio. So, but getting ahead of myself here. So honestly, I didn't dislike it. Like I'm not don't like it as much as House of the Dragon. That's for sure. They tried really hard to look like Lord of the Rings. The music, some of the shots, some of the vast shots of like, there's these very, very vast overhead shots of like New Zealand. You show the cities. We see Eregion. We see, what's the place that Elrond hails from? Lindum or something. So we see Eregion. We see Lindum. We see. I had no idea where the hell then you had the Harfoots. So the series was divided by, well, there was Galadriel, there was Elrond, there was the elf the what the hell's this elf's name again? I have the Wikipedia up. So let's see, we've got uh Irandir. So Israel, Ismail Cruz Cordova, Irandir, the one that's let's go out to guess who's coming to Elevensies, that guy. Rondir and the woman that he's has a forbidden relationship with, which didn't even seem like a relationship from what I saw in this show. I'm trying to see who was the woman. What was her name again? Bronwyn. Her name was Bronwyn. She's the healer. So you have the elf side, which is Galadriel and her storyline, and it splits with Elrond. Then we have another storyline with Arondir and the men of the town that Bronwyn is. So apparently men distrust elves. So I mean, just like typical, like dwarves, like all the different races distrust each other, like back in the day. I mean, I'm guessing that it was the same way with men too. So they distrust him. What's funny is they're in a bar, and Arondir, the elf of the elf of color, I'll say, he gets stared down by all these men who are let's just say they're fair of skin. So I'm kind of like thinking, I'm like, have I seen this before? Yeah. And there's a point where he gets harassed, and then there was one kid who was like, why do you care so much about the past? He's like, well, the past is all of us. Rondir said that. So I was like, okay. But there's that storyline. There is, what was the fourth one? What was the fourth one? Oh, the Harfoots. There was a Harfoot. So you had Lenny. So you had the girl. What was her name? The girl's name was she's not proud. She's not the proud fellow, or no? Maybe she is the Poppy or something. But she looks just like Frodo. And yeah, you see like in the trailer, you see these two men. I think they're men. They're two men. They're very dirty. Like the place looks. I don't know if they're trying to make this look as lived in as possible. Like they're all like a lot of the men are dirty. Even the Harfoots are dirty. I mean, elves are clean because they're elves. But yeah. Oh yeah. Where is it? All right, Salty Texas Sea. Thank you, super sticker. I got a question. Do you guys want me to spoil this at all, or do you? I mean, I know some people don't want to spoil this. I'm just kind of curious what you guys want me to do. But once again, I think the highlight of this episode, the highlight of this project is the music. In my opinion, the music just felt very at home. I mean, was it as good as Lord of the Rings? It was. It felt very fantastical, I'll say. Some of the dialogue was cringe, but at least the dialogue was not 21st century vernacular. So I'll just begin with episode one. So episode one is called Shadows of the Past. So the first thing we see is Valinor. So we see Valinor for the first time ever, and Valinor just looks like a place. It's very innocent looking. Kids, everybody's dressed up in white like they're angels, and we meet child Galadriel, and she is building a paper boat. And when she puts the paper boat on the water, spoilers by the way. She puts the paper boat on the water, then it becomes a swan, or one of those swan boats that are known. So that happens. And then there's a bunch of other kids, and they're like, I bet you we can I bet you we can. I bet you that boat's gonna sink. And then a couple of the young boys start throwing rocks at it. She's like, "Stop! Stop! Don't throw rocks at my boat! Don't throw rocks at my boat!" And I was just like, I was just like, okay. So they hit the boat with the rock. The one boy hit the boat with the rock and it sunk. Then she gets all Goku, or no, she gets all Vegeta. She gets really mad and she just starts punching the kid down. And the first thing I thought of was Star Trek 2009. If you don't remember Star Trek 2009, there's a scene where we see Spock as a child. He's at he's in school and he's being mocked by his classmates. They mock his mother for being human, and then he goes on a rage and he starts punch, like that. So that's the first thing I thought. And I was just like, okay, so she's tough. She reacts like a boy. Okay, I get that makes sense for what they're trying to do here. So how does the fight stop? Well, her brother comes in. Her brother is I forget who. I don't remember her brother's name in canon and the Legendarium itself. But I'll just say he looked just like David Bowie. He looked like a young David Bowie. So let's just call him Bowie Adriel. So I'll call him Bowie Adriel. So Bowie Adriel, pulls her aside and they have a talk, and they're talking about the lights, and they're talking about the stars in the sky and the lights and what it means. And I had no idea what the hell they were talking about, to be honest. I was like, I had my head in my hand watching this. So they're talking, at least the language, at least it didn't sound like, once again, at least it didn't sound like 21st century vernacular. So, credit where credit's due, I guess. But they were talking about the stars. I mean, I'd have to rewatch it to maybe understand it. I mean, I'm not an expert in the Legendarium. I am aware of like a lot of the, like the fact that they had to make a lot of stuff up, like Galadriel reacting like a boy or a man or stuff like that. So yeah, once again, thanks, Salty. Thank you for that hot dog super sticker. So they have their little conversation, and then it skips, and we find out, like there's the two trees in Valinor. I think it's the two trees in Valinor, and they start to wither away. They get sick and they start to die. And we find out that the evil influence. So this is first stage. The evil influence of Morgoth has come to this island. So they send her brother and a bunch of other elves go to war in Middle Earth to fight Morgoth. And then there's that scene where it's like it's still with the red. They're in the red thing, and I once again I had no idea what was going on. We saw a battle with orcs. The orcs kind of looked like the orcs from Lord of the Rings, kind of. We barely see it. I'll be honest. There was 2 episodes. There's 2 episodes of the show. I think there's only 8 episodes. I don't know if there's 8 or 10 episodes this season. This first season. I don't know if you guys know. Do you guys know how many episodes this season's supposed to be? But there's 2 episodes in, and I feel like I don't know if I don't know if like barely anything happened in these first 2 episodes. I'll just say that. I'll just say barely anything happened in these first 2 episodes that I took of note. I mean, there were things that did happen. There were some things that that did interest me. So, so we find out that he goes to war. There's that big thing, and then we find out he dies. He didn't die in battle. He died at the hands of Sauron's agents. So we find out Sauron started rising up his servant, Morgoth's servant, and just took. I guess I don't know if they took them all out, but they took out her brother. So now she wants revenge, and so that's why she becomes a soldier. She takes his blade. So he's buried. She takes his blade and he's like, "This is my fight now. Your fight is now your fight, brother, is now my fight." So rest in peace, David Bowie Adriel. That's what he looked like in that horrible shot of them fighting. And then I'm trying to think what else happened. There was a lot to take in. This was like Game of Thrones. It went from scene to scene to scene to scene. Um, so it was from one character scene to another character scene to another point of view to another point of view. There were like four. There were like mainly 4 point of views. So they had the Harfoot girl, Elrond, Galadriel, and whether you, of course, Bronwyn or Arondir. So those are like the main point of views. So we did see Disa, the one that was the one that had the most time during the press interviews. We did see her in episode 2. But going forward, the first thing we see after that initial prologue of her going to war or going, she wants to go after Sauron. So what does she do? Well, the next time we see her, they're climbing that ice waterfall mountain thingy, where she's like into the ice. And there's a point where like some elf, so she's leading she's like the only woman in this group. They're all men except for her. So she's the leader, and they're all men. So they're in like the far north. I'll just call it. I don't know what they call the far north in Middle Earth, but I'll use my Game of Thrones knowledge and call it the Land of Always Winter. So she's in the Land of Always Winter without any White Walkers or any evil haunted forest or anything like that. But she's climbing the thing that's supposed to represent the wall, or it's kind of like the wall, but it's not the wall because it's an actual mountain with ice water on it, and that's climbing. So they got pikes, they got spikes here to use, and they have spikes on their feet to use to climb. And of course, one of them knocks an ice patch and nearly hits another elf below. And the elf below looks up and he's like, "F you, dude." Well, he doesn't say that, but he's like, "F you, jerk." And the first thing I was thinking back to, Storm of Swords, season 3, Game of Thrones, where they're like, the ice, the wall can be treacherous because of ice. And first thing I thought was that. So, I forgot I got a super chat right here. So thank you, Vic Rattlehead N for 40. What is that? What is that? What is that? What is that currency? What is that currency? 40. It's not pounds. It's not euros. I don't know. But thank you. Thank you so much. Rupees. Okay, rupees. Playing Ocarina of Time. Rupees. That's where I first heard rupees. I never realized rupees was a real currency until I was in high school. And I found that I don't mean to sound insensitive. I found that funny. But then again, where did the Zelda Japanese developers come up with the name? Well, from India. I mean, there's a lot of India's a rich country with a rich history and rich the words, language. I still have to see RRR, so I've heard nothing but great things about RRR, and Indian cinema is just really getting better. Again, you guys are really pushing. Zax, you guys are really pushing the Indian cinema, and I might have to take you guys up on it because I'm looking for some good epic stuff. So, yeah. So, but they climb the mountain, they get to the top. And her second in command's like, we really have to keep doing this. We don't want to do this. And she's like, we're going to do this. I want my revenge. Well, she doesn't say that, but she's like, I'm going to hunt him till the day I die, Sauron. And he's like, oh, God damn it. So they end up getting to, so they press forward. They're holding on to each other. So there's a major snowstorm. They're holding on to each other for dear life. One of them goes down, and the second in command elf tries to help him, and then Galadriel stops everybody because she's in the front, she's at the point, and then she picks him up and then throws him back in the line. Okay, maybe that's not quite how it happened. I'm kind of embellishing this thing, but they're on their way and they see a castle. They see an evil evil Sauron. I guess Sauron had an evil ice castle in the Land of Always Winter in Middle Earth. So they go in this castle. They're looking for stuff. It's like a dungeon in Legend of Zelda. They're exploring. They have torches. It's dark. and there's like a secret door. There's like an ice wall, but it doesn't look quite right. And they're like, okay, and they take one of their weapons and they bash the ice, and it's actually a door. And I was surprised I didn't hear it go da 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 da, like from Zelda. So they find this hidden room, and they see like they see like this was like a torture chamber. So they find like Sauron's symbol, which made me, the symbol looks just like the brand from Berserk, the brand that Guts gets on his neck. It has almost the same shape. I'm sure it's a coincidence, but yeah, it looked like something from Berserk. And she sees this as like she sees the symbol on like a table, and she's like, we gotta go, we have to keep pressing on, we gotta keep going further north. And they're like, no, we don't want to do it, come on, we want to go back home, we want to go to Valinor, I want to go back to heaven, come on, let me go back to heaven. So while her and her second in command are in the torture room, her men are still trying to secure the place. It's a big evil ice palace, whatever, ice castle dungeon. And we get an ice troll. An ice troll attacks them. So we get an ice troll attacking them. Looked like something out of a video game. Made me think of God of War, the 2018 God of War game. So the snow troll is beating the crap out of her men. The snow troll is beating the crap out of her men, and and she's like bashing them on the wall, and they're fine. Apparently, they're fine. Then she comes out, and then I guess her second in command is like a trampoline, because she bounces right off of him, and just starts slashing in midair. Just something out of Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. I guess she has, what do you call it? It's like everything goes slow motion when you're in air. I guess she has that ability, kind of like the VAT system in Fallout, or like I said, Breath of the Wild. Or if you played Red Dead Redemption, same thing, slow motion. Well, same idea. And she's like slashing from midair. Then she does a roll. She does a dodge roll, just like if you play any action video game. And then she just single-handedly kills the snow troll by herself. Her men couldn't do it, so she did it. I guess she's the better fighter. What can I say? Maybe she's more skilled. Maybe she's just stronger. I don't know. I don't know. I would have never gotten that. I would have never gotten that impression from seeing Kate Blanchett's Galadriel in the Lord of the Rings films. I'll just say that. And that was probably the only real action. There was maybe one other action scene in this whole other show. I mean, there's a lot of talking, and they're talking about stuff. There's a lot of, there's like, oh, there's bad omens everywhere. This is a bad omen. That's a bad omen. Here's a bad omen. So they're trying to really bring, they're really trying to be Lord of the Rings. I'll give them this. They're really trying to be Lord of the Rings, but it's just not. There's just not a whole lot that happens that's really interesting to me. And I'm not saying this to be mean or because I've heard everybody's takes on, or at least I've heard a lot of the takes. People are not happy with Rings of Power because of them not going with Tolkien. They're making their own stuff up. I'm kind of putting that aside. That has already been in the consideration. I saw this, believe it, once again, I did not pay for this. I saw this for free. I got the last ticket today. There's all of Chicagoland, and not even all the seats were filled. Here's the funny thing. I'm in the theater. Now, according to the site, this was at a Cinemark. I was at, all the seats were taken. Except for the handicap. I felt kind of dirty taking a handicap. And they said, hey, if you, they're like, if someone with a handicap needs their person there, you have to give up your seat. I was like, okay, whatever. Well, nothing like that ever happened. But I'll be honest, even though all the tickets were filled, not all the seats were filled. Maybe 60-70%. I don't know what that means, to be honest. So they did give me a $10 food voucher, and I didn't even even buy anything, because I went to I made a and Nosferatu is going to kill me because I'm supposed to be working on my jawline right now. I went to McDonald's. I got myself, because I was on the road today, I went to McDonald's and got myself a burger. I was out from 8 a.m. till, well, now 10 p.m. when I got home. So, I mean, between taking the car in for service, trying to go get an emissions test, which failed, jerks. And I just decided, I'm going to drive all the way out to the theater, all the way west suburbs, and where I'm going to go, and I'm going to see the Rings of Power. I had nothing to do. I mean, I was either that, or I'd come home and keep working on my Ocarina of Time video. I'm getting close to getting close to getting done with that. I want to try and get that done by next few days at least. I know, been teasing that. So, but let's. I got a super chat from. Sorry, did they give you? Oh yeah, I already said that. So, all right. So let's find Lyle's. Okay, Lyle says, "Hey, Nerdporial, the area in the north is called Ford Waith, and it's very similar to the land beyond the wall in Game of Thrones. Also, you would agree with me, you could see the Abrams in this. I call it a mix of Hobbit and Star Trek 2009. Yes. Yeah, well, at least the Spock part I definitely saw. So, I mean, was this as insufferable as like Star Wars, like Kenobi? I didn't dislike this as much as Kenobi, but then again, I have to keep watching, to be honest. This is only 2 episodes, and this is really early for me to tell. So, Nerdporial, you messed up. I demand 100 push-ups. Yeah, I gotta work on that. I started doing sit-ups. Again for the first time in a long time. So, because I was watching Cobra Kai and they were doing sit-ups. In season 1, they were doing Johnny and Miguel were doing sit-ups in season 1. So I started doing sit-ups again, and yeah, it's crazy. So, but yeah, going back. So the castle. So what happens in the castle? So we're still in the castle. So Galadriel single-handedly kills the Snow Orc, and she wants to keep going. I'm not as big as Stingray. I'm not as big as Stingray, but I gotta work on it. But they're still in the castle, and she wants to keep going. She's like, okay, we have the symbol. We know they were here. We're going to keep going forward. They're like, well, we don't know where they're going to be. They could be dead. So the guys in the thing don't want to continue the mission. They're like, let's give up. Let's go. Leave. Sauron's probably dead, And Galadriel is like, no, we got to push on. So they basically have a mutiny where I forget what they call it, but they literally all kneel down and they put their weapons down. Their weapons are facing her, which basically means we're done. You can you either come back with us or you go on alone. That's basically what the second in command said to her. So yeah. So that she went. So I'll be honest about Morfydd Clark's acting in this episode. She was grimacing. She was grimacing. She was like, what are you doing? I want to go hunt. That's how she looked. So so they get back, and we see they're on Middle Earth. They're on Middle Earth. They're on Middle Earth, and they go back to the kingdom. I forget where Gil-galad is king, where his throne is, but Gil-galad basically rewards her and all the people in her party to passage back to Valinor, and she's not happy about it. She keeps giving Gil-galad some dirty looks. And then we see her meet Elrond, and Elrond's like, are you going to give me an audience with Gil-galad or not? So it was hard to like Galadriel. I'll say that. So, but yeah, I haven't even catching up in the chat. So he's like, I'm turning over a long drive tomorrow. Hail to you. Oh, thank you. Thank you for coming by. Thank you so much for your super chat. You were awesome. So, trying to think what else. So we're so apparently Galadriel and Elrond are like besties. They're besties, and they meet. They're right there with her. He's like, I don't know. He's like he's like Gil-galad's go-to guy to get shit done. We find out that he sends Elrond later on to Celebrimbor. So we get to see Eregion, and I didn't even know Eregion existed until I read the second. I read the appendices for Second Age, so now I know the name of the thing. So, um, but before that, like there's there's all these scenes with her um, and Elrond, and of course they have their scene where she's like, "You haven't seen what I've seen." He's like, "I've seen my share." I'm like, "You haven't. I've seen more." And then it's just like, "Oh, shut up, just shut up at this point." Your dialogue is getting cringe. And then there's a point where like they're apparently they do memorials. They sculpt the trees. Uh, they create memorials by sculpting the trees in the likeness of those who have the elf warriors who have fallen. So we see the one that honors her brother David Bowie Adriel, because I don't know his name. So David Bowie Adriel, and of course there's no Celeborn. So like a certain YouTuber whose name rhymes with Oddick. There's no Celeborn. So I mean, according to the Legendarium, they were married at this time. So I don't know. Celeborn is nowhere to be found. So, but going back, so her and Elrond are in front of her brother's tree memorial thingy, and well, they're talking, and he's trying to tell her to let it go. He's trying to tell her to let it go, and she's like, "I can't let it go. It's like my brother's mission is now mine. I'm taking over." So yeah, she's like, so the next time we see her, we go to I'm covering once, by the way, I'm covering one storyline at a time. So I think we're getting into episode 2 territory now, where they are sending her via boat to Valinor with all the men that she was with. So first they're standing at attention. They're holding swords the entire time of the trip. So they're holding swords like this. And then there's some female elvish maidens. I don't know what they call them. And they start removing their armor and taking the blade. And they try to take Galadriel's blade, and she holds it. She's holding it tight, and they're like, "Please let go, my lady." Or I don't even know if they said anything. They probably didn't even say anything. I think the second in command's like telling her to let it go, and so she just drops it. They don't pick it up. She just drops it on the floor in the boat, and then they're heading. So I don't know how it looks, but like apparently Valinor's doors are clouds, like heavenly clouds that open up, and there's a light coming out. It's like something out of. It's like someone said Monty Python, but it was just like something out of your typical, if you want a typical Christmas card, heaven. What does heaven typically look like? Open cloud with a flash with a breach of light coming out. But in this case, the light was coming out like this, and then it just opened like the clouds were opening like a massive door, and so you see nothing but a bunch of golden light coming through, and they're heading towards it. And then once the elves are in like all their armor is off, so they're just dressed like the heavenly angels that I guess they're supposed to be I guess the elves are supposed to represent angels. Let me know if I'm wrong, all you Tolkien experts out there. But they all start to sing, and once again, the music in the show was great. I liked the music in the show. There was chanting. It was very fantasy. It was very fantasy, and they were singing. The elves were singing because that's what elves do. The one thing I want to see again, if they decide to do it, I want to see elves just like hanging out on top of trees talking shit, because that's what they always did. And you read the books. I started rereading Lord of the Rings. They talk shit. They mock. They jest quite a bit. They make fun, especially the dwarves. I guess the elves in Lord of the Rings were just very stern and serious. There was some of that with Legolas. Legolas was kind of making a joke at points. But when you see more elves, just hanging around trees, and just like whenever someone passes by, they would scream out a jest or something or whatever, because that's what they did. Or they'd sing. So they sang. So they sang so they were singing. It was like, oh, I mean, I liked it, but then Galadriel's like, no, I don't want to go into the light. Don't go into the light. And maybe she was maybe Galadriel is actually Carol Ann. Carol Ann, don't go into the light, Carol Ann. If you've seen Poltergeist, maybe she's actually Carol Ann. Don't go into the light. Don't go into the light. So she doesn't want to go into the light. So what does she do? They edit it in a way where someone lands in the water, but it was actually, they do a jump cut. So they jump, so something falls into the water, and she has her blade. So she's swimming with her blade. So she takes the blade off the floor, and then she just jumps off the the boat before it gets completely submerged into the light. So she jumps off, and so now she's in the water swimming with a blade. So she's holding a blade in one hand. She's like trying to swim, and so she's in the Sundering Sea, just swimming. I didn't even know you could swim in the Sundering Sea. I guess she's a hell of an athlete. I mean, there were ladies in history that swam the English Channel. So maybe Valinor is not that far from Middle Earth. Maybe it's about as far as the English Channel is. Maybe that's it. So she's swimming for a while, and then she gets picked up on a raft. So there's a raft of a bunch of people, and so this is where we meet. There's a whole bunch of people. They're like, "Who are you? Why are you here?" And then they find out she's an elf, and they're all human. They're all men, women. There's some women there too. And like, "Who are you?" And they see her like, "Why are you here?" And there's all this evil distrust of Galadriel for reasons, I guess. But there's another dude on the ship, the dude that looks like Aragorn, and his name is, what is his name? Halbrand. His name is Halbrand. So Halbrand is there, and they just have a talk, and let's just say ultimately, like they're stuck there. We don't know exactly what happened. Halbrand kind of tells her his story, so there's a lot of talking. There's a lot of talking in this episode. A lot of sitting down, talking, walking around, talking. Very kind of Game of Thrones-ish, but unlike Game of Thrones was, well, at least House of Dragon, early Game of Thrones was actually interesting and served the story. I don't know what I don't even know if these things are going to pay off, to be honest. I mean, it's early to tell. So we find out this Halbrand guy, who I've heard through the grapevine is another character, a existential type of character, maybe something that ends in a threat. I don't know. I don't know if it's true, but he tells his story saying, "Oh, I fled from orcs and blah blah blah," and she's trying to get more information out of him, and he just won't give it to her. She's like, "I'm not telling you." For why? Reasons. And then of course there's a point where they see a boat. They see a boat, and they're like, "Hey, help us! Help!" Like C-3PO in Star Wars. "Help! Someone, please help!" But we find out it's not a boat. It's a worm. Apparently, in the Sundering Sea, there are worms that swim. At least they called it a worm. I was like, "Oh no, did they steal this from Dune?" Because the sandworms in Dune. And so you get this big giant top-down shot of the raft, and then you see this massive thing underneath, this massive creature underneath it. And then of course the creature, so what does Halbrand do? He cuts off his portion of the raft, and he swims away, paddles away. The other people sacrifice Galadriel because reasons. They throw her off, and so she ends up swimming to him, Halbrand, on his part of the raft, and the worm kills everybody else on their raft. We see she's swimming towards the camera. And then behind her, we see the massive thing, destroy the boat and kill everybody else. Yeah. And yeah, so she gets picked up. They had their talk that I just mentioned about his thing. And there's a point, and shortly after that, there's a point where there's a major storm, and she somehow gets tied to like a rope, and she gets pulled underwater. And Health, if I'm assuming this character, Halbrand character, is another character who she might be looking for. Well, he saves her life. He goes down, takes her blade. She has the blade. She still has the blade in her hand for some reason, or he somehow gets a hold of her blade and he cuts the rope that was holding, that's sucking her, pulling her down, and she gets picked. And then he takes her back up and saves her. Why does he save her? Don't know. And then, of course, they're trying to survive the storm, and then they fall. They get knocked out. They fall asleep, and then they wake up. And there's another boat, and I'm assuming they're on shore, and we see a shadow of a man. Well, not a shadow of a man, but like we don't see the guy's like we don't see the guy's face at all. He's just like, he's kind of covered up, so we don't know who he is. That's how episode 2 ends. So that's Galadriel's story. So then it diverges with Elrond. So Elrond gets sent by Gil-galad. So now I'm done with Galadriel. Gone. Elrond stays in Middle Earth. He's doing, Gil-galad says, hey, I want you to work with Celebrimbor. And so he goes with Celebrimbor to Eregion, and we get to see Eregion. We get to see Celebrimbor's studio and where he hangs out and does his work. And they have a nice little conversation, talking. And Celebrimbor is like, hey, I want to make something that is something that has never been done. And Elrond's like, hey, you make great shit. Nobody has nothing but love for you. And he's like, oh, that's not enough. I need to do something really great. So he wants to build the largest, Celebrimbor. Everybody knows what Celebrimbor did. Anyone who's familiar with, Legendarium, Celebrimbor wants to build the largest. What do you call it? The place where they make, I can't even think. Forge. He wants to make the largest forge ever, with fire as hot as dragons and everything. So Elrond's task is to make that happen. Elrond gets shit done. Problem solver. Makes problems go away. That type of guy. So what does he do? Well, who is known for crafting and building and engineering and everything? If you play enough fantasy games, the dwarves. So where do we go? We go to signal lost. Oh, sorry. That was my I forgot to turn off my Google Maps because I wasn't sure how to get home from the place, because I was all the way out in the suburbs, unfamiliar place. I had to make sure I knew where I was going to get back to the highway to get home. So so here we have what do you call it? So Elrond goes to Khazad-dûm. Remember Khazad-dûm? Lord of the Rings? Balrogs? Well, there were no Balrogs in this episode. But we do see some dwarf helms, which did not look great. I saw the dwarf helms, and they didn't. I was like, the dwarf helms look kind of like Batman. It made me think of Batman for some reason. Dark, really dark in color, and they I don't know, it just looked weird. So Khazad-dûm. So he's trying to get in, kind of, knocks on the door. He's like, I want audience with Durin. And they're like, go away. No. He's like, Durin. He was telling Celebrimbor, he's like, hey, Durin's gonna, because we're best buds. So Elrond's got quite a few friends. He's friends with Galadriel and he's friends with Durin. He's like, we're besties. We're gonna they're gonna throw me a great party. They're throw me a feast when I get there, or something equivalent. So he gets there and they're like, go away. And so he demands the trial by endurance. I'll call it the trial by endurance, where he has to take on Durin in a feat of strength. Like they have to keep. So they accept him. They bring him in. He sends. So Celebrimbor and Elrond are together at the door, the Khazad-dûm door, and Elrond tells Celebrimbor to just go back, and he's like, I'll handle this from here on. And so the dwarf men come in, they escort him in, take him to a chamber. We get to see a cool shot. I mean, I have the picture. I used the picture as my background. of him going across the bridge. And well, we find out that Durin is not too happy with him. He's like, he's like, if you lose this, we're gonna send you on your way forever. You can never come in our lands again. You can never come any part of Middle Earth again. Nowhere within our dominion. I said dominion. So they have this fight. They have this little challenge. They both are carrying an axe, and they have to basically just cut rocks in half until one gets tired. So they do this. Now it tends Robert Aramayo, who played young Ned Stark in season 6 of Game of Thrones, played Elrond. He was cutting those rocks in half too. He's pretty strong. He's a pretty strong guy. Still not a fan of the hair. Still not a fan of the haircuts. They should have just went with the long hair, traditionally. I don't know why they had to make it short. Well, it's Second Age. Who says they didn't have, cut hair? So Elrond loses to Durin. Durin wins, and Durin's like, you know what? He's like, yeah, you're gone. You're out. And Elrond's like, well, can't you at least hear my proposal? He's like, well, walk me to the door. He's like, walk me to the door. So Durin walks into the door, and they're like, they're like, we find out why Durin is pissed at him. Elves are, how elves are immortal. So 20 years is like a blink of an eye to an elf. Well, 20 years is like, you didn't come to my wedding. You missed the birth of my kids. The heck, dude. I thought we were friends, and it was just that type of, it was that type of thing. It wasn't like anything really interesting. So Durin's pissed at him for that. And Elrond's like, I'm sorry. Or like he says, he's like, I'm sorry. Let me see your wife. I'll go see your wife now. And this is where we meet Disa, So Disa and Durin were kind of funny. People were laughing at their little antics, at their bickering antics, and the kids were misbehaving. So there was a lot of there was some people laughing in the theater. But yeah, they're all joking around, and Disa takes an immediate liking to Elrond, and he's just like, once again, he's like, I'm sorry, I missed out on your most important parts of your life. And he's like, you cannot stay for dinner. And Disa's like, he's staying for dinner, like that. So, I mean, if you're married, you know how that's going to go. So they have the dinner, and they're talking, and I don't remember what they talked about, but there's like Disa's growing a tree. And yeah, I'll be honest, I was kind of impressed with how they showed the dwarves versus the elves, the height difference. I'm not sure how they did it this time. So that'd be something interesting to look into. So that's pretty much where Elrond's story caps off. This episode 1, episode 2. So we got those. So I capped off Galadriel, and I capped off what do you call it? Elrond, sorry. So now there's really 2 other stories here. So no Numenor. We haven't been to Numenor yet. I'm assuming after way episode 2 ends. Episode 2 ends with Galadriel waking up, and looks like they're on the shore. I'm not sure that we didn't see quite directly where they are, whether they're still out at open sea or if they landed somewhere, but they were still. So I'm guessing they washed up somewhere. I think, I don't know. But I'm assuming they're at Numenor. I could be wrong. We'll see. So no Numenor. So there's 2 other storylines. There's the Harfoots, and then there's the forbidden love, romance, men, elf, Arondir. What's the name? Arondir orc thing. We'll get to it. So I guess I'll start with the Arondir and Bronwyn. So Arondir is just like they're scouting around. He scouts. He goes to this particular town. I don't remember the name. It's a bunch of dirty men, and there's of course Bronwyn is a healer, and she has a son named Theo. Theo's an ass. I don't like his character. He's just an ass. But like there's a point where he goes into a bar, and all the men in this bar are all, let's just say they're fair of skin, and he's the only character that's not fair of skin. and they're all looking at him, giving him dirty looks. And I was just like, oh no, are we going to get more? Are we going to get more allegory to a certain thing that might have happened? That did happen quite a bit in the early 20th century and prior. So I kind of did, because a lot of the stuff that comes out now kind of makes us think of that. But he kind of came off. He was very stoic. I didn't dislike his character. He was very stoic. He was very he didn't wear the chains in this episode, so he wasn't. But he is captured. I'll get to that. Sorry. So he's going into this bar, and like they're talking. He finds out that there's like this sickness. There's this poison going on, or there's this. And he tries to inquire, and some other young guy gets up, gets pissed at him, gets in his face, and hits the drink out of his hand. And I think one of the bartender tries to hit the guy that accosted Arondir, and he stops the guy because he's willing to listen to what that guy had to say. He's like, "Why do you keep caring about the past?" So, well, the past is necessary for all of us, Arondir says. So, sorry, I haven't been paying attention to the chat. I've been trying to remember everything because I didn't take any notes for this. So as you can see, I'm kind of here. So Amanda Manatharan, got to head out. Hey, cheers to you, chat. Hail, Brian. Well, thank you for coming by. So going back to that. So we find out that I don't even remember how she comes into the story. I think he sees her. He tries to talk to her. He doesn't like flirt or anything. He's just trying to get some information out of her. I don't remember what exactly, but let's just say her son Theo finds like this sword, and the sword it's like broken in half, and I don't know if it's supposed to be like the sword of Morgoth or Sauron, and like there's a point where his blood like activates it and it becomes like fiery and everything. I don't remember what it is. But yeah, his son kind of hid it in someone else's barn, and they were trespassing. He has a buddy, and he's a troublemaker. The kid's a dick. I didn't like his character. But let's just say like there's like things are getting sick. Like this guy brings a cow. So this guy brings a cow to the healer, to Bronwyn, and the cow starts he tries to what's his name, Arondir the elf. He tries to milk it, or squeeze its udders, and it's like black milk comes out. Or the shot was terrible. The shot made it I wasn't sure if it was bleeding or if it came out of the udders, but all you just see is black stuff go onto it. The shot is him sticking his hand down there, and then you see black stuff go into his hands. I don't know if the cow. I don't know if the cow was bleeding from beneath, or if it was coming from the udders. Who knows? But apparently, there's a sickness, and the sickness is killing a bunch of things. And you see dead grass, and it just made me think of Stranger Things season 2. So in Stranger Things season 2, they had what's his name, Hopper goes to visit like a bunch of farms, pumpkin farms and everything, and they're all like rotted, and we find out that there's like these tunnels underneath. Let's just say there's tunnels in this too. Apparently what's her name, excuse me, what's her name, Bronwyn, or I don't know if it was Bronwyn. Bronwyn goes to the other town and sees that it's completely deserted, and she heads back, and she's like, we gotta leave now. There's some shit is going down. And I don't think anybody believes her. No one in the bar believes her, because they're all toxic assholes. So she brings Arondir to go look under there's tunnels under this town that everybody vanished. So he sent her back, and he went into the tunnel by himself, Arondir, in the dark. He's like, I gotta go down. So he goes down. He keeps looking, and of course it keeps cutting to other characters, but he keeps going. He keeps looking. There's a point where he hears something, something stalking him underground. So he gets to a point where he tries to flee. He hides underwater. And then he gets ashore. He thinks the thing is something he thinks the thing is underwater following him, but there's actually something grabs him from, like in the Disney movie, something grabs him from behind and takes him away, and that's the last we see of him. Is he dead? No, he's not dead. I'm assuming he's captured by, well, let's just say, what kind of creatures kind of live underground that are not dwarves? Well, we go back to her, and we go back to Theo, and he's pissed off about something. He's beating the ground. He thinks there's rats underneath, so he starts pounding the ground. He's an angry kid. Starts pounding the ground in his house or barn or whatever, house underground, and he punches it open, and he sees an eye looking at him, and then he's like, oh no, and then he flees into he hides in a cupboard. And so then his mother gets home, and they're making noise. He's like, Theo, where are you? And he opens the cupboard, and he's like, and then all of a sudden an orc pops out with a helmet and a sword, and it's knocking her into the wall, it's knocking him into the wall. She tries to hit, she literally slays it. She slays it almost single-handedly. She stabs it, it beats her. He tries to hit it, it hits him, and then she's like, and then she cuts its head off, and they do another jump cut. They like to do jump cuts in this. So we see her, and then as this motion goes, then we see her drop the head on the counter in the bar, and they're like, we're effing going. Let's get the F out of here. And so they're all leaving, and that's how their storyline. And so Arondir gets captured, and the rest of the town are evacuating because, well, there's these evil tunnels underground that have, single orcs that just pop out, because that's kind of what they did. So, all right. So the final storyline is the Harfoots. So there's these two guys, they're carrying these moose antler things or whatever they call them. I don't remember what they call them. These moose antler things walking around. Like, you haven't seen I can't do a dirty English accent. You haven't done this. Those Harfoots are dangerous. And then trying to be cute and Disney like, they when those two hunter dudes go away, those two poacher hunter dudes go away, then the Harfoots, like, they come out of their hiding, because Harfoots are I don't know if Warner Brothers will knock me down for this, but Harfoots are hobbits, and hobbits are good at hiding, and hobbits are good at being sneaky and being stealthy and being unnoticed. Well, they come out of hiding, so they're like so they can naturally hide. Like, they're humble abodes. They're nomadic, obviously, at this point. Their humble abodes look very, like, when they close them, they look like natural, they look like natural parts of the earth. So that's how they can just hide from everybody. And so they popped out. It was cute. So we see meet Lenny Henry's guy. I forget his name. What does Lenny Henry play? Lenny Henry plays Sadik Burrows, and he's the traditional Tolkien little guy. Well, he's not a traditional Tolkien little guy. He's just he just looked like he's just an old dude who was kept reading books. He was basically the leader. He was the leader of the group, and he was bickering with some of the other ladies. It was kind of like the same way Durin and Disa were kind of bickering to themselves. So so the dwarves and the Harfoots were kind of the source of laughter. I mean, there were people laughing, and like I said, there were a few claps. Not everybody clapped, but there were a few claps at the end. So, I mean, some people did like this. I'm kind of on the fence. I don't know if I liked it or not. That's what's weird about this. So, but going back, so the Harfoots, we meet this little girl. She looks like Frodo. I think her name is Poppy. I don't know if it's Poppy or Marigold. No, Nori. Her name is Nori. Nori. That's the name of the dwarf in The Hobbit. That's the name of one of the 12 dwarves in The Hobbit. Or 13 dwarves. It's weird. Oh, Nori. Oh, jeez. Nori. Okay, Nori. Okay, so Nori is so yeah, Nori and Poppy. So Nori and her friend Poppy, and they're just like, I want to explore. She's like Luke Skywalker. I want to get out of here. I don't want to stay here. And the rest of the older Hobbit halflings, not halflings, the older Harfoot hobbits are like, no, you shouldn't talk like this. We have to stay together or we won't, and everything. So she starts like wandering around, and the big thing, and this is how episode one ends. And episode one, like these, like the way the scores play out to end an episode is like something. Remember how ET ended with a massive brrr, and then quick silence, very epic like. So episode one ends. So we see a meteor. We see a meteor descending upon Middle Earth, and the meteor crashes really close to the camp that the Harfoots have set up. And of course, everybody sees this meteor coming down from across the world. And she gets there, and we see a man, a naked man. I think the man's naked, or maybe he's wearing some sackcloth, like Charlton Heston in Planet of the Apes. But he was naked. He was practically naked, and there was fire. It was a cool looking scene. I'll say we see a top down view of a guy laying surrounded by fire, and that's basically how episode one ends. And let's just say it. So what they did was they began the series, just with Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, kind of like how Lord of the Rings itself began, but in between episode one and two at the theater, they showed the credits, the opening credits. The opening credits, that was a really good. Once again, I thought the opening credits was pretty good. They showed them like moving pebbles around, they were creating like little symbols and effects and everything. But Howard Shore's main theme was great, and I like Bear McCreary's interpretation of music from Middle Earth. So I did like that. So so who was this guy? Well, some people say not Gandalf. I don't know if he was, but let's just say she falls down. Nori falls down because Nori falls down, and she wants to help him for no reason. She's just like, I want to help him. We're going to take him back. Why? Because the script told me to. Because Payne and McKay told me to say that. No, I'm kidding. But I didn't understand why she wanted to save him particularly, but he was kind of down, and we find out she falls into the pit where he fell, and once again the pit is full of fire that's like engulfing him and everyone else, but the fire is cold according to the episode. So what do they do? She's like, hey, Poppy, my funny little kind of chubby friend, you're gonna help me. She's like, no, I don't want to help you. And she's like, you're gonna help me. Okay. So okay, I'm kind of that was kind of exaggerated, but she does eventually give in, and they go and get they bring a barrow. They somehow pick him up. He's supposed to be a giant. He's supposed to. I mean, he's way bigger than them. I mean, they're Harfoots. They're halfling Hobbit Harfoots, and Warner Brothers gonna go after me for that. Maybe they'll even, I don't know. But they lug him up. They throw him in a tent, but the thing was, she tries to wake him up in the fire pit. I'll call it the fire pit. And he's like, oh. You know how kind of Gandalf has that weird effect where he gets all ethereal, and he's just like, you hear him sound, and it's like all echoey and everything, not human. Well, this guy kind of does it. And the guy wakes up, and he's kind of like, it's like he was born or something. So he has no idea what he's looking at. He's just making sounds. And then what else? What else does he do? And he looks, and then he kind of gets knocked. He kind of falls back asleep. And then, of course, that's when they lug him back up to one of the camps, and they hide him somewhere, kind of like, E.T. He had that E.T./11 from Stranger Things feel, where they're hiding. The kids, and they're hiding this weird alien guy from the sky or from wherever, away from their parents and everything. And yeah. And then he gets up. Then eventually he gets up, and he starts. He gets up, and he's like wandering around, and they go after him, and they have they're carrying like lanterns, but the lanterns the Harfoots carry are full of like fireflies. So so wizard guy, because he's a wizard. You're a wizard, Harry. He's a wizard. I'll call him. What was his name? Was it Bumbledore? I'll call him Bumbledore. Bumbledore is a great name. So Bumbledore is Bumbledore is wandering around aimless, and they're like, "Where are you going?" And they're trying to. She's like, "You can come back with me. You're my friend." I'm like, or she said something like that. The characters, the kids are cute, but come on. Bumbledore doesn't talk yet. He's just like, he's just like, he doesn't know where he's at. I don't even think he knows what he is. And he knocks the lantern of one of the lanterns over, and it's full of fireflies. So the fireflies come out, and they're it's nice. It's a cute little scene. Made me think of the Orville. There was a point in the Orville they go to that Mocklin female planet, and there's like all the colorful fireflies there. Same idea. And well, let's just say the fireflies start dying. They just all start dropping dead, and they're all like, and it's because of that disease thing that hit the men in Arondir and Bronwyn earlier. So that's the last we see of them. And I'll be honest. I mean, and I think that's pretty much it. I mean, there was probably other stuff. Lenny Henry's wizard character was always being made fun of by the ladies in the village, and he was telling them to shut up, So it was funny bicker. There was like some funny bickering. So the funny bickering, I kind of was like, okay, that's cool, that's fine. People were laughing at that, but yeah, like Lenny Henry's character was just like, he was reading a book, he was writing into a book, so it made me think of Bilbo, and he's looking at the sky, he's like, the sky is wrong. The sky is wrong. And they're like, why do you think the sky's wrong? He's like, I don't know, but it just looks different from what I've seen. And so I don't know what's gonna happen next. So but that's the first two episodes. Not a whole lot happened. So there's only two action set pieces. There was the action with the snow troll in the beginning of episode 1. And then there was that fight, Bronwyn and Theo fighting the one orc that they, I mean, she didn't just single-handedly kill it like Galadriel and the orc, or in the troll. Like they had a hard time killing the orc. The orc was quick. It was like fighting one of the apes from the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes. If you ever seen that, so. But there were not a whole lot happened. There was just a lot of talking and a lot of. I mean, I don't know if I'd say this was CW level. I think this was better than CW level, in my opinion. It had the music, and it still had an atmosphere. The music felt right. And this is just talking about the episode itself, the episodes themselves. I'm not going to go. I mean, if this was Star Trek, I'd be tearing it apart for going against what's already been established. But which I stopped doing. That's the reason why I stopped reviewing Stranger Worlds, was because of that retcon of TOS, my ass. Retcon. I was like, I'm not interested in retcons. So, but the music. I mean, some of the scenes looked okay. The armor. I'll be honest. House of the Dragon is still a better show between the two. So, so you guys have any questions? I have not been paying attention to the chat. So, all right, let's see. Anybody say anything to me? So, Nerdporial, do we sense a bait and switch in episode number? What does that mean? An episode number. Do I think it's a bait and switch? I didn't dislike this as much as I thought I was gonna do, but yeah, House of the Dragon. I rather prefer House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon is more interesting to me. I don't know. Who needs source material when you have postmodernism? Yeah, pretty much. So, my God, if that sword is girth thing, I'm already out. What the sword, the broken evil sword? I did not know. I'm a normie. Once again, I'm a normie when it comes to the Second Age. Like, I don't know anything. CW Plus. toxic masculinity. So yeah, and so there's David Bowie, Adriel, and then there's Bumbledore. So I made up some names as we go. So and you know what? I'm not going to copyright that. So if you want to use it, you can use it. So what's up? Anything else? I've been baiting and switching this whole. Oh come on, Miss Friday. Don't come on. Lord of the Rings is for I don't know. Harry Potter cupboard under the stairs. I called it a cupboard because I don't know. It wasn't under a stairs. It was like it was like in the wall. It's like maybe it was a closet or a pantry, but it was tiny. Maybe it was a fireplace. I don't know. But yeah. So that's how long I've been talking about an hour. So this is the best. This is me. This was me the whole time. I was just like, oh. The highlight of this was having a conversation with someone next to me. So the girl next to me wore, big glasses. She was wearing a dress. She was wearing all this Lord of the Rings stuff. She was 19, so she only knew the films. I don't know if I think she said she read she really liked Harry Potter. She was telling me all this other stuff. I thought the highlight was just having a conversation. I didn't tell her about my channel. I didn't tell her about anything because I figured one thing she did say that was kind of telling was, I was just like, there was a lot of people who were concerned about this. And she's like, well, the times are changing. That's one thing she told me. Now, I didn't say anything, but I hear this quite a bit. And I know you guys have all heard this quite a bit too, probably even more. I keep hearing, oh, the times are changing. We have to change with it and everything. We have to follow, Bob Dylan. The times they are a changing. Please don't send me a copyright strike. But still, I mean, there's certain things that we shouldn't change. We shouldn't change stories that were created by people. I mean, people are not here anymore, and you decide to change them for modern sensibilities. I just think that's evil, and that's why people have been putting down. Evil cannot write. It cannot create anything new. It can only can corrupt and destroy. And I know I'm paraphrasing that, but hey, it came from the man himself. It came from Professor Tolkien. But I don't even know what the name of the second episode was, but did I dislike it? It just was kind of boring. It was kind of boring. I mean, there were some fun things, but I think Morfydd Clark is not a good Galadriel. I don't know what else she's acted in. I mean, you can disagree. I mean, I know some people might disagree with me on that, but I didn't think she was great. Robert Aramayo was okay as Elrond. I had no issue with Arondir. He was very stoic elf. I mean, I didn't have a problem. And then even with the Lenny Henry and the Harfoots, I didn't have an issue with them. I thought they were funny, even though they don't exist in the Legendarium, Second Age. And I didn't dislike Disa. Disa was kind of funny too. I mean, even though she doesn't have a beard, and none of the women had beards. I mean, there was not. Disa wasn't the only one. There was bunch of other women that we see, and they didn't have beards. I don't know why they decided to change that. I mean, heck, even the Hobbit, they had the beards. So I don't know. We do meet. There is a point where we do meet Durin's father. I don't remember Durin's father's name, the king. So I thought Durin was the king, but he's not the king. So his father's the king, and Durin's just like, or Durin's father's like, should we trust the elves? And Durin's like, yeah, I think we can. He's my bestie. He was one of my besties. I don't know. I don't remember the conversation. There was a lot of talk, and I didn't take any notes because, well, I'm in the theater. So that's pretty much it. That's the Rings of Power, as I keep saying it. So it was free. I was free today, and it was free. Get it? It was. I mean, it did take some gas. It did cost me some gas, but hey, it was something to do, and I figure, I'll come on, get some decent views, for my, so I did this for a reason. Ulterior motive. And yeah, but thank you guys for coming by. I thought this was it was great getting this off my chest. I'm surprised I remembered as much as I did. And yeah. Oh, Salty text episode number. What was that? What were you asking? Episode number, episode 3. No, there was only they only showed the first 2. They only show episode 1, episode 2. Episode 3 will be next week. So, and yeah, we got okay. Let's see. Let's see what's up. So we have Henry Lemoyne here. What's up, Henry? From Better Call Saul. Nosferatu, of course, is here. Yeah. So yeah, the rest of them are going to be released weekly. So, do you see any clear plots to exploit for a bait and switch in episode 3? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know at this point. Quarter of the show down, and we know almost nothing. Outstanding pace, Amazon. Well, they did say they're going. This is going to be a 50-hour series about the Second Age. I think it was 40 or 50 hours. That's what Payne and McKay said. So I don't think they accomplished much in season 1. I think season 1's going to be all set up. I don't know, to be honest. So, I want to see Scott Ian as a dwarf. I don't know what that is. Let's see who else. The dwarves take short human sex slaves. You don't need to eat bugs if you are eating the wind turbine fan plates. I hope Limp Bizkit makes a cameo. Nixon for a third term change. What are your pronouns, Harry? Oh boy. Like and subscribe. This man is doing the Lord's work. What man? What man? This was almost as good as Nerdporial's FF7 retrospective. That doesn't exist. Are you saying this? Are you saying the stream is non-existent? The good of the stream is non-existent then? Salty says, you crushed it tonight. Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I did the stream because I was listening to Neurotic. He was saying that there was a free show, and he had to travel all the way to get it. So I listened to that. I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm going to do something myself. And then he was talking to Chris Gore, and Chris Gore's like, I should do that too because I'm going to go see it too. So there you go. So so I don't know. Are you guys going to watch it? Are you guys going to watch Rings of Power at all? Are you guys going to do any of that? Are you guys going to check it out? Or are you guys going to just not? Xenogears retrospective. Xenogears. You know how long that game is? That game is just the game is like 40 hours just with the story, reading the dialogue. That is a super long game. And they didn't finish it. That's the thing, is they barely finished it. They had to wrap it up really quickly because they ran out of budget. So I still have not seen the second season of Witcher. First season was okay. So yeah. So who wrote this episode? Let me share my screen. So who wrote this episode? Directed by J.A. Bayona, and of course this was written by Payne and McKay. And yeah, so yeah, I'm sure there were other Star Trek things I didn't pick up, but yeah, they tried to be. It's so just to take this all down. They tried to be They tried to be Peter Jackson. They tried to be the Peter Jackson films. They once again they showed. There was a shot showing of the I think the Harfoots or someone running, and they showed that a very similar shot to when we see Gimli and Legolas and Aragorn running on the field chasing the orcs and the two towers. They had a similar shot to that. The music was very epic. And yeah, is this based on Tolkien? I guess. I don't know. I'm not a second age. I'm not a second age person right here. So, but I forget, did someone subscribe? Someone subscribed to me. I usually have a nice little welcome video for people that subscribe. Who subscribed? Was it Max? Did you subscribe? Give you a Jonathan Banks warm welcome. Well, I'm assuming it's you. Let's see. All right, so whoever subscribed, here is my welcome video.
I swear, if you ever show your face out there,
I swear,
I
Chris,
mean,
I won't.
ever.
I won't.
ever.
I won't. I promise you.
Oh!
Welcome to the Nerdporial Continuum. Oh yeah, and here's another Jonathan Banks thing.
I want to do it.
You're done. You are done.
Kind of wish he said that to to Amazon maybe. I'm not going to be okay, Maxar. Okay, cool. But that's just kind of what it is. So yeah, I mean there was a lot of swimming, there was a lot of talking, there was a lot of sitting. There was yeah, and of course there's okay, of course this is the controversy. This is Wikipedia, so we know where Wikipedia stands on everything. So let's take a look at some reviews. Let's look at Rotten Tomatoes. Let's see what Rotten Tomatoes has to say. Rings of Power, Rotten Tomatoes. Let's pretend I'm British. I'm not British. 83%. Shut up. Shut up. Stop. OneRing.net. Many predicted the Lord of the Rings prequel would be a disaster. It isn't, says the LA Times. It's the LA Times. You're going to expect that. IGN. Prime Video's Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, is a unique take, telling something of its own story, using a distant time period of the lore that Tolkien mostly laid out in broad strokes. It's a bold approach, and here, fortune has favored it. Like the bold. The 2-episode premiere marks a strong start with breathtaking cinematography. Yeah. Excellent acting. And a story that, after a somewhat labored setup, shows some serious promise and intrigue. Intrigue, sure. Promise. I'll have to wait and see. Entertainment Weekly. There are ways to do a prequel, and The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, does them all wrong. Entertainment Weekly. It takes 6 or 7 things everyone remembers from the famous movie trilogy. Adds a water tank. Maybe makes nobody fun. Teases mysteries that aren't mysteries. And sends the best character on a pointless detour. Yeah. That is actually pretty accurate. The Guardian. This is TV that is made for big screens. Although surely, don't call me Shirley, destined to be watched on smaller ones. It is so cinematic and grand that it makes House of the Dragon look as if it had been cobbled together on Minecraft. Wrong. Disagree. House of the Dragon still looks way better. Just that shot of the dragon parting the clouds, even though Pips last time said it was wrong, technically, because he knows stuff about flying. I still thought it was awesome. Variety. Amazon's long-awaited Lord of the Rings prequel series slots well into the cinematic universe of Peter Jackson films while establishing itself on its own terms. It is trying to be Peter Jackson's films. It's really trying to establish itself. It's really trying to get the audience to, make us feel that it was Peter Jackson films. Thing was, unlike the Peter Jackson films, I was actually excited watching those, even though I knew the story. I don't know the story here, and I'm not particularly excited. I mean, will I watch episode 3 next week? Sure. Yeah, whatever. BBC. For a television series, the production values are staggering. The sets feel huge and lived in. That's true. The costumes are beautiful and intricate. Maybe the elf angel look kind of looked, I don't know if it was beautiful, but I don't know. And the digital effects are sharper than most movies. No. So some disagreement there. Hollywood Reporter. It's technically impressive in some ways, reasonably ambitious, packed with Easter eggs that I'm certain I'm not versed enough to get. Yeah, that's me too. And with my interest in different plot lines already varying wildly, it could fall off a precarious cliff at any moment. Yeah, I feel that. I kind of feel that way. Time, Lord of the Rings of Power is filled with beautiful images and tired archetypes. Maybe. Forbes, I came to this series a skeptic. Okay. But after watching the first 2 episodes, I walk away a believer. I'm a believer. I can believe, make her if I try. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, sorry. What showrunners Patrick McKay and JD Payne have created is something simply staggering in scope and scale, in raw beauty and magnificence. It is nothing short of a masterpiece and welcome return to the Tolkien's Legendarium. Disagree. There is scale. I'll say this. There is scale. Is there beauty? There's some beauty. Magnificence. Is it nothing short of a masterpiece? No, I disagree with that. Do I walk away a believer? I'm still I consider myself on the fence. And I don't talk about Rings of Power. I'm sure people, all you guys who have read Legendarium know the lore much better. We're going to probably hate this. Okay. Oh, CNN. Got to hear their take. Having invested hundreds of millions in mounting a series version of the Lord of the Rings, Middle Earth, Second Age, Amazon has gotten its money's worth in production values, but not storytelling. Oh, CNN. Oh. With a handsome prequel that could leave all but the most devoted hobbits feeling more bored than Lord. Feeling more bored than Lord. Oh. CNN. Oh. CNET. Here's the thing about the new Lord of the Rings TV show, The Rings of Power. It takes you somewhere you've been before. Yeah. I mean, it takes you to freaking Khazad-dûm. I'm sure I'm sure they're not talking about geography like a familiar, like Middle Earth, but yeah, duh. Yeah, you've been to Middle Earth before in the movies and in the animated movies. So, but we haven't seen Valinor. We haven't seen, what the hell's the name of that city? Freaking Celebrimbor's from, Regium, and Lindum, where Elrond is from, and whatever. And okay, TV line. Rings of Power is not just good. It's great. A gorgeous, immersive, and grandly ambitious spectacle, packed with stunning imagery and compelling plot threads. More importantly, it captures the same sense of awe we felt while watching the Lord of the Rings movies. Maybe. Kind. No, not really. Okay, my bad. Not really. I mean, there were times where the music made me feel that way, but not a lot happens in 2 hours. One we don't often get to experience on the small screen. We did. House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon was way more interesting, and there was way more tension. RogerEbert.com. R.I.P. Roger Ebert. It's a series that wants dearly to set itself apart as a fresh take on the material, right down to setting itself an entire age before the adventures of Frodo Baggins and his fellowship. But it also does everything it can to stir out nostalgia for the Jackson films. Yeah, from costume, not costume so much, to music, to overall design, sure. Definitely the music. Overall design, yeah, kind of. Which can occasionally make it look like a store brand version of the same. Yeah, I could see that. And who else we got? Oh, the Washington Post. I'm sure they got something to say. Though the 8-part debut season portends an imminent war between elves and orcs, with dwarves, humans, and the precursor to the hobbit race called the Harfoots in the mix. The copious and choppily edited action in the first 2 episodes, though screened for critics, is bloodless and computer effects driven. I mean, there was some blood. Not a lot, but there was some. Ask.com. Yeah, Ask. The same website that got Saul Goodman put away. By Carol Burnett. By now, you may be wanting to know what the Rings of Power is about. In a way, I feel the same. The first 2 episodes of the show are full of explosion, unhurried table setting, and character introductions, but not much else. That's correct. Oh, the greatest website ever, Inverse. Definitely got to read this. On the one hand, the Rings of Power unwavering focus on its heroes allows the show to truly spotlight several of its strongest cast members. Excuse me, sorry. Clark shines, more like dulls, as a version of Galadriel who is more battle-hardened and outwardly headstrong than the older, wiser, and more ethereal iteration Kate Blanchett famously played in Peter Jackson movies. She is not on the same, she's not even on the same level, let alone the same planet in terms of comparing her to Kate Blanchett's Galadriel. Kate Blanchett's Galadriel's practical perfection. Now she wasn't 6'4", so I can't really comment on that. I didn't even know she was 6'4". You guys are smarter than me on this. Owen Arthur nearly steals the show with his likable, charismatic turn as Durin IV, the Dwarven Prince of Khazad-dûm. I liked Durin. He did feel like a dwarf. He did feel like a dwarf from the Peter Jackson films. He was very, was very hardy, and he was very, he was very direct. And there was a nice little. I mean, there was some chemistry between him and Elrond, so I'll give him that. And I think he was the actor that was just like making the funny faces as Disa's actress was giving all the taking all the press tour time. Like she was the main character, but she's not. She was only in like 5 to 10 minutes of episode 2, and that was it. She did have a lot of dialogue though. So, on the other hand, the lack of a major antagonist in the Rings of Power's opening installments creates an unfortunate sense of waywardness. At times, the show's disparate storylines feel like they are only connected by the vague notion that evil may be just around the corner. That's true. They're trying to build tension. I just didn't feel it. Like I didn't feel the tension. I didn't know what was going on, to be honest. And the thing is, I didn't make out. Here's another issue I had with these episodes. I couldn't make out a lot of the stuff that they were saying. I didn't know what was going on some of the time. So it's kind of weird. It's weird like that. So I have to rewatch it just for the sake of it. Consequently, there are moments, especially in the Ring of Power second episode, when the series content spanning structure feels frustratingly unwieldy, very like Game of Thrones. So let's see. News Hero. The first quarter of the season is almost entirely set up for what is to follow. Yeah, so it's hard to render much of a verdict on the series from relatively unknown showrunners J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay, who have contributed to movies including Star Trek Beyond and Jungle Cruise. I've never seen Jungle Cruise. Through 2 hours, both nicely directed by the talented J.A. Bayona, The Impossible and The Monster Calls. Don't know those. The Rings of Power is intriguing, but not quite engrossing. Yeah, I can see that. Maybe slightly intriguing. But I had my head in my hand the whole time, so I wasn't quite following what was going on. Maybe it's a me thing. Lamplight Review. The Fellowship of the Ring is a big influence here, and the characters go off on quests to investigate strange occurrences in the land while dark rumors from the previous war start to circulate again. The episodes do a commendable job of not only showing the enormity of the world and its history, but also giving the feeling of dread weighing down as the clues begin to be revealed. I mean, there's some dread, I guess, and there is that we do see it's a big world. We see its history. We see a little bit of it. We see glimpses, but there's not a whole lot of substance, once again, to really engross me. Unlike the Peter Jackson films, that prologue is some of the best stuff. That prologue made me so invested right away in Fellowship of the Ring that I just completely understood what was going on, and it made sense. This, I didn't feel that. I mean, I know they tried to do that. They tried to do it, and it didn't quite work, to be honest. But once again, I didn't hate this. I just didn't didn't care enough, to be honest. DJ Ronnie G for $5. Thank you, DJ Ronnie G, member of the Nerdporial Continuum. If you want to join, hit the join button. Nerdporial Continuum. Don't worry, I won't bite. Get to I call you out on streams. We could do whatever. It's awesome. It's awesome. Oh, sorry, I didn't read it. They're breaking new ground. Red Letter Media. They're breaking new ground in these changing times. Yeah, the young girl who I sat next to kind of said that. Said, times are changing. I didn't say anything. She's only 19, and it was. I tried. I mean, I didn't really reveal my cards. I was just asking questions, just trying to sound nerdy. And plus, it's even if you disagree, even if you feel this, even if you feel like McKay and Payne are doing bad stuff. I know a lot of people feel that way. It's important to have conversations with people that like it. Don't take away their like. If I liked some really bad shit. First Friday 13th is considered a shitty movie, and you know what? I love it. Why? It's a scary movie. It's a scary movie that I like. I like slashers. Don't ask me why. Are they good movies? Probably not. No. So I'll say this. Just have a conversation. Just say, what did you like about it? And I wouldn't even. And like when you say like this thing sucks to someone who does like it, it kind of feels like they're taking it back a little bit. So I can kind of understand why people react that way. But at the same time, what annoys me is when people fail to hear our side of it. So I'm okay with hearing negative reviews, because negative reviews are people that don't toe the line. And they have reasons for the way they feel. And people don't want to feel negative. People, I think, mostly want to have positive experiences. Now, I mean, I'm sure that's not true for everybody, but I think most people want to have a positive experience. People want to enjoy shows. I want to enjoy this. Will I keep watching it? Yes. So once again, but yeah, by the way, thank you, DJ Raiji. You're awesome. I must have said that like 3 times already. So, but it's important to have conversations with people on the other side who like that way. I would not lay out my cards. I would not say, like, you just ask them, and don't even be negative about it. Just ask them, try to get them to talk, try to get whoever to, say why. A lot of the times they'll just say they felt they liked it or something, but it's always a good idea to have conversations. Never, I mean, you don't want to be completely like that. I mean, people want to like stuff. I wanted to like episode 8, and then I watched it again. I was just like, they wasted an entire episode 8 of stars. Signal lost. Sorry. Shut up, phone. Seriously. I thought I ended. Exit navigation. All right. There we go. Okay. So, but to sum it all up, there were things I liked. I liked I liked the music. There was some decent atmosphere. There was some of the shots looked really good. Looked very the sense of scale was all there, and it did kind of look like Middle Earth to a degree. What I didn't think the acting was all that great for a lot of the characters. I mean, I think Elrond was okay. I felt we barely saw Gil-galad. Durin was pretty good. I thought the bickering between Durin and Disa was hilarious. Well, funny. I actually snickered. I thought the bickering between the women in the Harfoots and, of course, in Lenny Henry, they were kind of telling each other to shut up. I thought that was kind of funny too. I liked the music how they ended every episode with, but the story doesn't really make a whole lot of sense yet, and I didn't quite pick up I have no idea where this is going to go. I mean, it's obviously I'm assuming this show is going to end with the war, the battle for between alliance of elves and men, and Isildur is going to cut the ring from Sauron. And I think that's how the show's going to end. So that's where I think they're ultimately going to go, and we're going to see Numenor get sucked into the ocean and like Atlantis and whatever. So I would, if I had to give this a score, I'd give this a 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10. I wouldn't say, 5 out of 10. It's just both episodes, 5 out of 10. It was between the video game looking fight in the first episode and then the wacky fight in the second episode, and the rest of it was talking. I mean, the costumes didn't look that too great, uh, but I mean, once again, I mean, I'm sure there's more to see. I'll have to rewatch it. Maybe I'll get a bigger grasp on the story. Do I know where it's going? I don't know where it's going. So, but I think this is it. This is what I'm going to call it. I'm going to call the stream. So there's a lot more. You guys can follow this. I know I'm on onering.net, the not so great One Ring. There's onering.net versus onering.com. So one likes Tolkien, and one likes to word that rhymes with pill or will, like or put ill after shh, So, but other than that, thank you guys for being here. You guys were awesome. Chat. So Max R, thank you. If you enjoyed it, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm gonna keep watching these. Lady Balefire, you guys started a channel. I mean, you know way more lore than all of us here combined, probably, especially Song of Ice and Fire. Nosferatu being Nosferatu. 70s rock fan. Thank you for coming by. Dempsey, you're awesome. Zax, you're awesome. Salty is always awesome. Okay, so Max is doing his own little thing too. So, but yeah, and of course we got Henry Lemoyne, and I believe that's it. Sure, more people came earlier. So yeah. So other than that, everybody, take care. Stay Nerdporial. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, hit the subscribe button. And want to join the Nerdporial Continuum? Join buttons down below. Other than that, everybody, take care. Have a good night.